In the heart of West Africa, where red dust rolls across the plains and the dry wind tells tales of struggle, something extraordinary is happening. For decades, Burkina Faso has stood as a symbol of resilience, a land of strong-willed people enduring drought, displacement, and poverty, but beneath the surface, a silent revolution has been gathering strength not with fanfare or headlines, but with a single, life-giving force water. In a place where clean water was once a luxury, it is now becoming a promise. That promise is being delivered, not by distant organizations or outside powers, but by the government of Burkina Faso itself. And leading this transformation is a man whose uniform may be military, but whose mission is deeply human: Captain IbrahimTraoré. When Traore assumed leadership, the country was facing more than just armed threats. It was facing a crisis of dignity. In too many villages, mothers walked miles for a bucket of water. Children missed school to help their families fetch what should be a basic human right. Entire communities lived at the mercy of broken pumps and contaminated streams. But Traore did not see water as just a public service. He saw it as a foundation for sovereignty, a foundation for peace, and perhaps most importantly, a foundation for hope. In one of his earliest speeches, he declared clean water is not yet guaranteed for every citizen of Burkina Faso. That is why we act. Not tomorrow, not with excuses, but now. And that was not just a statement. It was a new national direction. Under Traore's leadership, the government launched the National Program for Drinking Water Supply, a bold 10-year plan aiming to provide safe, accessible water to every household by 2030. This was not another donor-driven campaign. This was a national mission financed, executed, and monitored with the seriousness of a security operation. One of the cornerstones of this transformation is something called DISE, the Integrated Monitoring and Evaluation System. This digital platform tracks every water source in the country, from deep wells to urban towers with real-time updates. Local officials can monitor usage, detect breakdowns, and respond within hours. Not months. It is modern, it is local, and it is working. But numbers alone do not tell this story. What truly matters is how water is changing lives. In the rural commune of Kombissiri, for example, what used to be a cluster of tired hand pumps has now become a full water network, 12 boreholes, producing over 72 cubic meters per hour, feed a newly built 500 cubic meter concrete reservoir, one of dozens rising across the country. In markets, in schools, in homes, taps are running where silence once stood, and this is just the beginning. Captain Traore's government has made water more than a policy. They have made it a symbol of dignity, of unity, of a nation no longer waiting for help, but building its future with its own hands. So, in this story, we are not just talking about pipes and pumps. We are talking about the rebirth of a people through every drop that flows from a tap, every child who drinks without fear, and every elder who no longer prays for rain, but opens the faucet instead. Water, in Burkina Faso, is no longer just a resource. It is a revolution. When Ibrahim Traore rose to power in Burkina Faso, he inherited a nation not only weary from insecurity, but also drained by years of broken infrastructure and foreign dependency. Roads were crumbling, fields were drying, and water, the most basic human need, had become a daily burden for millions. But Traore, a man of few words and clear actions, understood something deeper. He knew that water was not merely about survival. It was about power, about dignity, about independence. In his early days in office, Traore made a statement that surprised many. We will no longer wait for others to give us what we should provide ourselves. Clean water is not a gift. It is a right, and it is a responsibility we must carry ourselves. With those words, he launched what some now call the Water Sovereignty Doctrine, a vision that placed access to clean water at the very heart of Burkina Faso's national strategy. For the first time, water was no longer seen as a social service, it was declared a pillar of national sovereignty, equal to energy, food, and territorial security. This vision became more than speeches. It became policy, real, measurable, transformative policy. Under Traore's leadership, the Bataille de l'eau, the battle for water, was initiated. It was not just a slogan. It was a nationwide mobilization. Ministries, municipalities, engineers, and villagers all became soldiers in this battle. The goal was not just to dig more wells, but to build a water infrastructure that lasts, grows, and belongs to the people. And so, across the country, the blueprint of sovereignty began to take shape. In Gampila and Dour, two towns once reliant on seasonal streams, the government erected solar-powered water towers. These high-capacity systems now serve more than 9,000 residents, delivering safe, stable water using nothing but the power of the sun and the will of the nation. In the Cascades and Haut-Bassin regions, the state invested in deep borehole drilling programs reaching aquifers over 500 to 1,000 meters deep. These are not temporary fixes, they are engineered to provide water security for decades, even under climate stress. In the capital city, the aging urban dams, Barrage 1, Barrage 2, and Barrage 3 were restored to full functionality. Once choked with silt and trash, these reservoirs are now sources of clean, regulated water for tens of thousands in Ouagadougou, but the most powerful image of this transformation is not the steel tanks or pumping stations. It is the presence of the captain himself. Time and again, Traore appeared at the opening of these projects, not as a guest, but as a leader among the people. In Kombissiri, he stood with children drinking the first flow from a new tap. In Pama, he walked with farmers inspecting water filters. In every region, his presence sent one clear message: the state is here, and the water flows because of our hands, not foreign hands. This vision did not go unnoticed. At the 2024 West African Water Summit, Burkina Faso's water policy was presented as a model for endogenous development driven from within, not imposed from outside, and in a landmark decision, Burkina Faso was chosen to host the 2025 African Forum on Water and Drought, making it the symbolic capital of water reform in the region. In the words of one regional minister, Burkina Faso is showing us that sovereignty is not just about borders, it is about the flow of water, and about the power to decide who drinks, when, and how. Under Captain Traore, that power is now being returned to the people, and for a nation that once waited for rain, it is now creating its own rivers. You can feel it in the early morning, in the sound of plastic basins filling under taps, in the laughter of children no longer walking miles to collect water, in the quiet relief on a grandmother's face as she turns a faucet and sees clear, clean water flowing. This is not a dream. This is the new Burkina Faso. What once was a country of broken pumps and seasonal puddles is now becoming a nation of pipelines, towers, and functioning boreholes. Across the towns and rural communities, water infrastructure is not only growing, it is working. Let us begin in Kombissiri, a commune in the Nadzinon region. Just 2 years ago, residents relied on a patchwork of old hand pumps. Water was scarce, and long lines at communal wells were a daily struggle. But that changed in early 2025. The National Office for Water and Sanitation 1AA completed a remarkable transformation. 12 boreholes, producing a total of 72 cubic meters per hour, were linked into a new distribution system. A concrete water tower, with a capacity of 500 cubic meters, was built. This towering structure now stores and distributes water across neighborhoods, ensuring continuous flow even during peak demand. But more than engineering, this project brought dignity. I used to wake up at 4 a.m. just to fetch water before it ran out, says Aicha, a mother of 4. Now, I wake up and just turn the tap. It feels like a new life. Similar stories echo in other parts of the country. The Burkina Red Cross has played a critical role, especially in humanitarian zones. In 2024 alone, they brought clean water access to over 123,000 people, not through emergency aid, but through long-term infrastructure. 65 boreholes were repaired, 3 new ones were drilled, 20 were upgraded into autonomous water points PE, meaning they now function like community mini-systems with storage and filtration. In remote villages like Tionkui and Sigria Ogun, villagers remember the old days when wells dried up in hot season. Now, thanks to these Ps, children drink during school breaks. Farmers irrigate kitchen gardens. Women no longer carry heavy jugs across hills. But it is not just public agencies doing the work. The private sector is stepping up too. IamGold Essakane SA, a major mining company, invested 200 million CFA francs into a solar-powered water supply system in the Sahel region. With a capacity of 300 cubic meters, the system now serves displaced communities and host villages alike, providing not only water, but a sense of safety and return. In the southeast, Soleil Resources has taken community support to the next level. After acquiring the Yuga mine in 2024, the company quickly drilled 16 new boreholes for surrounding villages, worth over 60 million CFA francs. These projects were not part of any contract. They were acts of goodwill and of responsibility. The water is not just for our workers. It is for the whole community, said Poko Tapsoba, the director of BMCSA. We are part of this land, and we must help it grow. The results are clear. Fewer waterborne diseases, better school attendance, more stable farming, a higher quality of life, especially for women and girls. The change is not just physical, it is psychological. Where water flows, confidence returns. Communities become more united. Young people start to believe in the future, and perhaps the most powerful impact of all, the new sense of equality. From the city of Ouagadougou to the tiniest village in Gorsi, access to water is no longer a privilege. It is becoming a shared right. Burkina Faso is not just building infrastructure. It is building a society where no one is left behind and where every drop counts. When a small, landlocked country starts to do big things, the world pays attention. And lately, all eyes are turning to Burkina Faso. In just a few years, this nation, once seen as fragile and dependent, is being recognized across Africa for something remarkable, taking clean water from the realm of charity and placing it firmly into the hands of the state. And not just on paper, but in villages, cities, and communities where taps are now running for the first time. The results are hard to ignore. In 2024, Burkina Faso achieved an estimated 80% national access to at least a basic level of clean water, a significant jump from previous decades. While countries like Mali, 74%, Niger, 70%, and Togo, 77%, continue to struggle with distribution and reliability, Burkina Faso is building faster, smarter, and deeper. Even compared to Ghana or Côte d'Ivoire, which have historically had stronger infrastructure, Burkina is closing the gap not with larger budgets, but with clearer priorities. And other African nations are taking notes. Delegations from Mali, Benin, Guinea, and Chad have all visited Burkina Faso in the past year to observe community-managed autonomous water points PEA, solar-powered reservoirs, and the national tracking system DISE. Experts from Nigeria called the country's approach the Burkina Way, a blend of grassroots engagement, military efficiency, and national pride. The African Ministers' Council on Water AMCOW recently listed Burkina Faso as one of the continent's top 3 emerging water reformers. WaterAid labeled the country a fast mover in West Africa, and at the 2025 African Forum on Water and Drought, hosted in Ouagadougou, dozens of countries praised the Burkina model for proving that sovereignty can be built with pipes, pumps, and political will. The inspiration is spreading. In Senegal, civil society leaders are pushing for community ownership of water systems. Citing Burkina Faso's success, in Niger, rural cooperatives have launched small-scale solar pumping stations modeled after Burkinabe installations. In a continent long reliant on foreign-led water solutions, Burkina is offering a powerful message Africa can lead its own future, but not everyone is applauding. In some corners of the Western media and development circles, skepticism lingers. Reports from a few international NGOs have questioned the sustainability of Burkina Faso's rapid progress. Concerns range from maintenance capacity to the quality of data being reported. Are the numbers too good to be true? One analyst asked in a European development magazine. Others argue that centralizing water strategy under military leadership, as has been seen under Captain IbrahimTraoré, could lead to politicization of essential services. Some donor agencies have even slowed funding, preferring to wait and see if Burkina's reforms will hold over the long term. To these critics, the Burkinabe government has responded with action, not words. The Ministry of Environment, Water and Sanitation has created dedicated maintenance brigades trained at regional centers. Communities are being trained not just to use water systems, but to repair them, manage them, and monitor them through mobile apps. And, perhaps most importantly, data transparency is improving with DISE now available to NGOs, journalists, and even citizens through open dashboards. One Burkinabe official put it plainly, "We respect advice, but we no longer wait for permission. Water is our right, and we are learning how to protect it ourselves." And the people. They are not waiting either. In markets, women boast about saving time for work and children. In schools, principals celebrate higher attendance. In farms, yields are rising thanks to year-round irrigation. And in neighborhoods once forgotten, community water committees are holding public meetings, managing funds, and repairing taps without outside help. This is not a picture of collapse. It is a picture of rebirth. Of course, challenges remain. Climate change is real. Some rural areas are still underserved. And yes, no reform is perfect. But what Burkina Faso offers today is not just a technical model. It is a psychological shift, a new way of thinking about African development. It says we do not have to be the recipients of other people's plans. We can build our own. We do not have to wait for rescue. We can rescue ourselves. For every doubt whispered in the halls of foreign embassies, there is a louder voice in a Burkinabe village saying, "We have clean water now, and we made it happen." And that, more than any headline, is the legacy unfolding in Burkina Faso, one drop, one village, one sovereign step at a time. It begins with a drop. Not just the drop that falls into a bucket or onto thirsty soil, but the drop that awakens a country. A drop that tells a child you matter, that whispers to a grandmother you are not forgotten, that reminds a father your labor is not in vain. In Burkina Faso, that drop has become a river of change. We have seen it in numbers: 80% access to clean water. We have seen it in steel concrete towers, solar pumps, underground pipelines. We have seen it in leadership, a president who makes water a matter of sovereignty. But more than anything, we have seen it in the faces of the people. The mother who no longer rises before dawn to fetch water. The girl who no longer misses school during dry season. The farmer who no longer fears watching his land crack under the sun. These are not statistics. These are victories. Quiet, personal victories that make up the heartbeat of a nation. For years, water was a source of struggle in Burkina Faso. It divided those who had from those who did not. It forced sacrifice. It demanded suffering. But now, it is becoming what it should have always been: a source of life, of unity, of possibility. This is not just about Burkina Faso. This is about what happens when a nation believes in itself, when a government treats its people not as burdens, but as builders, when development is no longer imported, but homegrown, made with local hands, with local wisdom, for local dreams. Yes, there are challenges ahead. Yes, the road is long, but the foundation is strong, because it is made not only of concrete and cables but of commitment, courage, and community. So let this be a message to Africa, to the world, to every nation still waiting for clean water. You do not have to wait. You do not have to hope. You can act. You can build. You can rise. Burkina Faso is proof. A land once known for drought is now leading a revolution of dignity. And all of it, every pump, every faucet, every child who drinks without fear began with one drop. The drop that said, "We deserve better, and we will make it so."